These tools work just fine. The rectangular marquee, the elliptical marquee, the single row, horizontal and vertical, use those rarely. The polygon lasso works just fine. The lasso tool works fine. The magnetic lasso sucks, so don't use it. But the magic wand tool does not behave the way you expect it to here. If you use the magic wand, it will select the quick mask. It ignores the image. It can't see the image when it's in quick mask mode. It sees black, white, and shades of gray, and that's it. So if I get the quick mask, the magic wand tool, and I click down here, oh, it won't let me. Notice the no command right there, circle with a line? They must have changed that in Photoshop, in this version of Photoshop. Before you could use it, it just didn't work. Somebody fixed it, hot dog. Okay, never mind. One thing I need to warn you about, I've been using this software since it came out. Back when you had to buy a scanner to get a copy of Photoshop. Version 0.8. It's one of the first 2,000 people ever used this software. That frightens me at times. Because of that, every so often I'll say, ooh, let me show you. Oh, it doesn't do that anymore. Because they took it out 3 versions ago and I didn't realize it. So, every so often we'll do something like that. We'll say, let me show you what not to use the magic wand. Oh, they fixed that. Never mind. So, I'm going to get out of quick mask. Go to select, save selection. If I'm replacing something I've already saved earlier, we'd replace. If it's a new selection, name it something that makes sense. Then save the file. Have I lost anybody yet with these techniques? Good, because it gets fun from here on out. That's basic selection using the magic wand, the quick mask mode to clean it up, the polygon lasso to clean it up, and saving it, the selection as a channel. Now here's an important bit of information. When Photoshop saves a selection, it saves the selection as a channel on the channels palette, right? Does it save there's black and white information in that channel? No. It saves it as grayscale information in that channel. Where it's white, it's selected. Where it's black, it's not. Where it's gray, it's partially selected, right? So if I ask you on the midterm and the final, which I will, this exact question, how does Photoshop save selections? The correct answer is grayscale information in a channel. Black and white information in a channel is not the correct answer. As a channel is a good answer, but not as good as grayscale information in a channel, is it? So the answer you're striving for will be grayscale information in a channel. And I guarantee it's on the midterm and the final because I've already written them. All right. Next, let's open up another image. Here is another selection technique. This one's fun. Quite often, when making a selection, it is easier to select what you don't want and then invert the selection so you have what you do want selected. In this particular case, I have blue and whitish, blue-white sky, and then I have everything else, right? Well, the beams are orange, reddish-orange, and black, with some snow on it in spots. Plus, the guy that's sitting up there is wearing brown and blue. But the sky is much more uniform in color, isn't it? So instead of selecting the beams that I want to paint a different color, I'm going to select the sky. So that's the basic technique. Select what you don't want and invert it. I'm going to get the magic wand tool again, and I'm going to click with contiguous turned off, fairly high tolerance, see what I have selected. I'm going to hit delete, see what disappears. Oh, I didn't unlock the background layer. That's important. Unlock the background layer. That way when you hit delete, you can see the transparency color. That's a pretty good selection. I need to go in and clean it up in Quick Mask some, but it's a pretty good selection. To invert a selection, the keyboard shortcut is Shift-Command-I. Please note it is not Command-I. Command-I is invert the colors, and it does that. Shift-Command-I looks just the same, doesn't it? Here, take a look at my screen. The beams are, the sky selected, the beams are selected. Sky, beams, sky, beams. This brings up an important point. When making really complex selections, it's sometimes hard to tell what is selected versus what isn't. So how would you find out? Hit the delete key, see what disappears. Real fast technique. Go to Quick Mask mode, see what you can see and see what's masked. So I'm going to hit Command-H to hide my marching ants, and I'm going to hit delete. Look at that. Got the beams and the guys selected that quick. I need to refine the edges a bit, of course. A couple of commands that you need to know about in the menu. I'm going to zoom in here and look at my selection. Notice this. I don't have all the beam, do I? The sky is over-selected, and then I inverted it, so I have the beams. But I don't have all the beam, do I? One option you have is select, modify. We have all of these. Border will select the edge between what you have selected and what you don't have selected. We don't want that. We want what we have selected plus some more. That would be the expand command. If I still have the sky selected, I'd use the contract command instead, right? One downside to using this expand command is this. If you expand too much, it rounds the corners of selections. So you've got a sharp corner somewhere in your selection where two beams meet, it'll make it a rounded edge selection. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to set this to 20 pixels. Actually, let's not set it to 20. Let's set it to modify, expand selection, 5. Notice this corner right here. See it down here? Where these two beams meet? It's a much smoother curve now. So just be aware, this is a low-res image, so it's not really showing it that well. Just be aware that when you expand or contract a selection, the corners tend to get knocked off. It smooths them out, etc., etc. So select, modify, expand, 1 pixel in this case, hit Command H to hide it, hit delete, see what disappears. Look at that. And then undo it a couple of times if you need to see what disappears and what doesn't. If the edges of your selection are too hard after doing an expand command, look at this. That's kind of jagged, isn't it, right there? We know how to fix that. Go to Quick Mask Mode, Gaussian blur it slightly, get out of Quick Mask Mode, Command H to hide it, hit delete, see what disappears. If you soften it too much, simply back up several steps, step backwards. The keyboard shortcut is Option Command Z. So Z and the 2 keys right underneath it will step you backwards. And you just hit it. Back up as many steps you need to. I'm going to do my Gaussian blur again. And I'm going to set it at a lower setting. Let's try 0.3. Get out of my quick mask, hit Command H to hide it again, hit delete. That'll work. I can I can paint the beams any color I want. This brings up an interesting point. Besides what I was driving at, make the selection, sometimes select the opposite of what you want inverted. What exactly to select? If you want to paint these beams a different color, you don't want to leave a orange rim around the edges, do you? Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about with painting a different color. This is stepping ahead of what we're doing in class, so don't worry about exactly what I'm doing. I will show it to you later on in the semester. That's not what I want. Let's go here to saturation. Go here to adjustments. And let's say I change the beams to a different color. Notice I've got just a little bit of an orange edge, don't I? Don't want that, do I? So I need to refine my selection a bit more. So where you make that selection, how much you select the beam, how much you select the sky, depends on what you're going to do with it. If I wanted to change the sky for a different sky that's a very different color, I want to select into the beam a little bit and replace just a little bit of the edge of the beams so I don't end up with a little of the old sky showing. Does that make sense? If I'm going to change the beam color, I want to select into the sky a bit. I want to over-select the beam. So when I change its color, especially if it's a big color change, I don't end up with a rim of orange around it. So exactly where to make that selection, should it be a little bit into the sky or a little bit into the beam, depends on what you're going to do down the road. But the great thing is, once you've saved a selection, they're easy to manipulate. I'm going to show you a shortcut. If I want to load this selection again, because I want to go to Quick Mask and modify it, or I want to expand or contract it using the menu commands, this is the way I showed you earlier. Select, load selection, pick out the selection you've made. I didn't save it, I really should.